my pocket. I am a healing prophet. Seeds a promise in my garden. I need to harvest often. Such a lush experience.
All right, so growing mushrooms and achieving results like what you see here is something that is fairly easy. But you have to make the process easier on yourself by simplifying things. I can remember when I first started, all of this was just like a blur to me. And it wasn't until I really started to study and take out some unnecessary things from the process of growing mushrooms, it wasn't until then that I really started to get it and really started to see really good results, okay? An example of me simplifying that process is what you see here. These are my albino penis envy genetics. This is not a multi-spore grow. This is a isolation from tissue culture or a clone genetic expression that you see here. And these are genetics that once I isolated it from a multi-spore grow, I just went through the proper steps of saving those genetics so that I can come back to them anytime that I want and achieve results just like that. That's an example of making this process much easier on yourself, all right? Another thing, there's no casing layer on the top of this substrate. I know that you probably cannot see because this substrate surface is covered with mushrooms. You may not be able to see where there would be a casing layer, but guys, there's no casing layer on the top of this substrate. On one of my previous videos, there was a person in my comment section that was going back and forth with, people asking me questions about whether or not you needed a casing layer. And, he just swore up and down that you did, in fact, need a casing layer when growing albino penis envies. And I'm here to definitively say that not only for albino penis envies, but for any cube type or cubensis type, you do not need a casing layer, all right? So no casing layer on this substrate was used for fruiting, all right? Now, when it comes to the substrate mixture that I put into growing this particular harvest, I kept it simple. I just used manure, I use cocoa coir, vermiculite, and a few additives like gypsum and worm castings, all right? Really simple. I didn't go with the coffees, the hydrated limes. Guys, it's a whole matrix of ingredients out there that people have come up with over the years that may or may not work, but I decided to keep this thing really simple because for me, that is how I achieve the best results. This is also a 50-50 substrate to grain mixture or ratio. There's a lot of people that play around with the ratios 2-to-1 substrate to grain or 2-to-1 grain to substrate. I don't play around with the grain to substrate ratios. I keep it 50-50 because that is the way that I receive the best results, all right? I'm not gonna make this video too long. It's just a review of some of the ways that I keep my grow process very simple. Guys, the monotub that grew these particular mushrooms here, I opened the monotub once, right? And that was when I was uncovering the taped holes, which I put there to build up the carbon dioxide inside of the monotub, because when you release that tape, that is when the carbon dioxide escapes, and that is a trigger for the mycelium that has colonized the substrate to begin its fruiting process. So I opened up the monotub that grew these mushrooms one time, and that is when I was switching over from the consolidation phase into the fruiting phase, all right? So no misting and fanning was done to this substrate at all. I do not believe in misting and fanning. I believe in dialing in your monotubs exactly the way that they are supposed to be dialed in, with the correct amount of water, with the correct amount of substrate thickness, and just setting them and forgetting monotubs. That is how you achieve really good results in very dense canopies like this. You do not need to mist and fan your monotubs to achieve good results. If you continue to have to open up your monotub lid, it's probably because your substrate is too dry or it's too wet in producing excess water. You don't need to continuously open up the lid of your monotub after you've set it. That defeats the whole purpose of even having a monotub in the first place. It's supposed to be very low maintenance. Another thing is that from the day that the tubs were inoculated was about 21 days. So 21 days from inoculation all the way to harvest, you get these results here. If you guys want to learn more about the way that I grow mushrooms and make this whole process simple, please visit the Patreon, where I have a monotub magic course where we go over grain preparation, dealing with and handling genetics, and putting together our monotubs and fruiting our monotubs. Okay, so just wanted to hit you guys with a quick update on, one of my grows, and see you guys soon.